wines that are produced from old vines, they're different. They have a soft natural acidity in general, which I really enjoy.
You start to find parcels of vineyard in sites. They give you a depth and a character and a true expression of terroir that can't be quite found with younger, less mature parcels. Generally speaking, in my experiences, the more mature, the older, the greater depth.
Any wine industry in the world has to look at what it has and what it can make the best out of. And old wines immediately come to mind as an advantage and something that will give you an edge, something that gives you more concentration. And old wines offer you depth of flavor, richness, and ultimately a product that will be able to portray a specific terroir, perhaps a site, a special site, and great wine, intensely flavored, rich wine.
You have to pick the vineyard maybe 3 or 4 times, depending on the season, depending on the shoot length, and we do that, to get the amazing quality of the grapes in the winery. And if you then start making the wine, I think the most important is that you really need to find what is the optimum picking ripeness for the specific vineyard. Some older vineyards that we need to pick it at 21.5, 22 bulling, and some vineyards can go to 23 before they sort of drop the acidity, and that you don't know. There's no rule, there's no golden rule on it. The only way you can do it is by experimenting and working with it.
It is a fairly difficult thing to describe. I think any person that starts out in wine looks for more of that sort of primary bright fruit, etc. Old vine wines are not necessarily going to be that for you. The old vine wines, I like to call it the pyramid wines. They start pointy and a little bit sharp and angular possibly, and even a little bit lean on the nose, but then as you look at them further and you get deeper into them and you taste them and you sort of evaluate them and look at the wine over a period of time, you start seeing that depth of flavor, that complexity, and wines that evolve beautifully in the glass.
That depth, we actually put the wine into oak barrels and ferment in oak barrels, and that depth is even evident in the color when you get this rich golden hued wine. And that sort of golden hue on the wine already to your eye tells you what to expect, and you're already thinking richness, fullness. On the nose you're getting this scent, white flowers, typically Chenin Blanc sort of scent in this case, and then your anticipation of what you're going to taste would be a mouth-filling, concentrated wine, as opposed to a fresh, bright, exuberant, easy-drinking coffee wine. So stylistically, we use our older vineyards specifically to create that sort of richness, that depth, the sort of character that you might anticipate from an old master as opposed to some pop art.
When the concept of old wines was elevated to a sort of almost a brand in South Africa, and what we accepted as normal was elevated to something quite unique, and it's fantastic.
To get out of maybe the pure value proposition and start getting recognized for the quality of the vines, the wines that are coming off these. The wines that we are now making, especially of those older vine parcels, are entering into the upper echelons of any wines anywhere in the world in a qualitative level. We've now got to start being able to quite frankly realize an income of that, because that's the biggest single threat to our old vines going forward, is the non-commercial viability of these old parcels.
When you discover an old vineyard which is in great condition, this vineyard has been worked with 3 or 4 winemakers or 2 or 3 winemakers. That's amazing. When you walk in an old vineyard and you look at where the vineyard, the grapes went to in the past, and then you start working with it, and you can actually follow the track of this vineyard back to where it's planted. That's really exciting. So it's a privilege to work with older vineyards.
And that's what's the excitement for me, is old vines just give you something that you can't put your thumb on, and that's exciting. It's sort of a semi-unknown. We're not quite sure why they taste better. The fact is they just taste better.